What's up guys, a new Q&A just dropped of Apogea with one of the developers and Klean, a popular streamer. Today we're going to be going over it. So first, one of the main things that a lot of people have been asking for is character customization. People want to customize their character, whether that means skins or what most people want to see is their actual items on their character. And Ed mentioned that he plans to keep these 4 main skins. But as many of you don't know, you can level up your skin by doing some quests. I haven't found these myself, but I just know of this. They don't plan to have every single piece of gear rendered on your character, but what they do plan to have is rendering your weapon in your hand or your secondary item on your offhand. I was really happy to hear this because I am someone who wants to see my cutlass sword, if I am carrying one, around on my character. It just looks cool. But in terms of their skins of the character, you can level up your skins and customize it as you go on. It still shows that you have grinding a lot more than a lower level player, which makes me happy. I just really hope that they look really cool. So in terms of the map, we did get news that we have only uncovered about 40% of the map, which this is insane. I mean, it took me what felt like forever to get to level 15 and be able to cross the desert with no problem. I can't even imagine going all the way to level 100 or anything further of the desert, so I am super excited to hear that. They then went on to talk about the main question, of course, that everyone is wondering, which is the release date. Sadly, they did not want to give us a specific release date for when the game will be released, even if it would be released in 2025. But what they did mention is that the next playtest will be in 1 to 3 months, maybe less, maybe more. I really hope that it is sooner rather than later, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are feeling the same thing because we all are having the itch to play Apogea. Also, I know that a lot of you guys were giving me some crap for saying Apogea. Okay, I didn't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean, it sounds cooler saying Apogea than Apogea, but yeah, or Apogea. But they basically just don't want to say a specific date because they don't want to let down any of the player base and lead them on to thinking that they might get the game sooner rather than later, which I understand. But Ed actually mentioned that he does believe that they are way closer to finishing the game than they actually think, which could be a great sign that they will be releasing it sooner rather than later. So be on the lookout for the next playtest. They talked about the DDoSing that happened during the last playtest. If any of you guys were playing this, it was pretty bad, and honestly it ruined my gaming session for like an entire day. So I don't know about you guys, but I had to go to work and I could not play, so that sucked. They were caught way off guard by this, and they now have a lot more plans in place to prevent this from happening. In terms of playing solo, as I know a lot of us are playing solo, I played most of my time as a solo player and occasionally grouped up with some friends to play, and I even met up with a random player and played with him. But Ed did mention that most of the stuff in game can be acquired by a solo player, but some stuff you do have to team up with other players in order to complete. Things maybe like a specific quest line or a boss, you might need another player to accompany you, but that's the way the game was made in order for you to make these random interactions with another player who's happened to be doing the same quest. He wants to be open to being a solo, but he doesn't want you to be completely opposed to randomly teaming up with another player or even another group. In terms of the end game, they plan to go all the way to level 100 and past that. But once you get to level 100, they plan to kind of soft cap that. Not that you can't go above that, it just might be a lot harder. In terms of different level players playing together, they want different level players to be in the same city so that lower level players can look at high level players and be like, damn, look at that guy. They also mentioned that after level 20, it's a little bit too easy to level up, so they want to make it a little bit more difficult in order to be a little bit more satisfying and challenging, which I know most of us didn't even make it to level 20, so I had no idea what they're talking about. They plan to do something with their past level 100 players that is irreversible. I don't really know exactly what this means, but what they do mention is that they want it to feel that same type of feeling of creating a new character starting off in the first city, but for higher level players. They simply just don't want it to feel stagnant once you reach a certain level. Klean also mentioned guilds, which guilds are a pretty cool mechanic in terms of Apogea. Ed then talks about how he wants there to be guilds, guild wars, and conflicts between different groups. They also talked about adding simple mechanics like having your online guild members pop up on a side menu. And this also goes for almost everything else that they talked about, since they are a small indie team of about 5 or 6. They really don't want to go too far out in terms of mechanics that they're adding. They want to be simple enough that they can add without taking too much of their time, but making a big impact on the game. So that's currently what they're focusing on. Another really important thing that was mentioned was professions. There's going to be 3 professions, and that is going to be blacksmithing, cooking, scavenging, and maybe outfitting. Blacksmithing will give you more chances of a successful gear upgrade. Cooking will give you more successful recipes and possible buffed food. Scavenging will give you more loot from items found. And honestly, they didn't really talk much about outfitting, but it might come. The last thing that I want to mention that they talked about is a permadeath character. I found this actually pretty interesting. I mean, I would honestly even try it myself, but they mentioned a permadeath server. Not even a character, a permadeath server. So that could be pretty crazy. The whole server being permadeath. So if you die with your character, you die in real life. I'm just kidding, that's not Sword Art Online. But if you die with your character, you lose everything. Your character's erased. So a hardcore mode, but everyone is in on it, which is pretty cool and intense. And on top of that, they actually mentioned that they might be doing this in the next playtest on one of the servers. So be careful which one you join. A couple other minor things that they mentioned is adding new servers, stuff like possibly an Asia server or Oceania, and even a South America server. They're also in the works of trying to make this game more available for lower budget PCs and laptops. So maybe it could come to Mac. That would be pretty cool, to be honest. There is a ton of other little details, like for example, how much time and effort they put into making the entire map loaded in for every individual player instead of having to load in chunk by chunk like many games or loading screens, which is really nice, and I think everyone can agree it is pretty enjoyable that way. But yeah, there's a ton of more details. This is all going to be on Klean's channel. If you want to go check that out, I highly recommend it. There's the full live stream if you want to get every single detail, and I'm sure even his new YouTube video he's going to be releasing, it's going to have a lot more details about this in general. So link in the description, and that is going to be it for me, guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. I cannot wait for Apogea to come out. If you want anything new and Apogea, make sure to subscribe, check out my Twitch channel. I will be locked in on Apogea when it comes out. Have a great day, stay safe, and for now, guys, I'll see you all very soon. Peace.